recorded. Pause. What up? What up? What up?
Hello.
So now we're doing this official record because you know everything we do can be used for our benefit later. This is our Friday Focus Forum, and even though it's me and you, we're just gonna focus on what we want to rap about. And while I got you, a couple things I was thinking about. I was doing this. I heard this crazy cool comment from one of my coaches. He said, "A confused buyer never buys." Sounds good, right? So I'm thinking that from now on with the Friday Focus Forum, I'm going to come up with a topic to start with, and like we just rap about that and see it and build off of that. What do you think going forward?
Makes sense.
Yeah, but this time we already got a topic because you came up with an idea about nonprofits. So I wanted you to spit it because you are a for-profit business, right?
Correct.
And you're talking about a nonprofit. So what I want to ask you first is why are you thinking about nonprofits?
Only because the little bit of research that I've done, it seems as if starting a nonprofit is easier versus starting a profit out of pocket and then going to investors and certain things. You have to have a certain amount of money invested in your company. Whereas from what I've been, and my research, mind you, is in the infancy stages. So this is not cohesive or comprehensive in any way. But starting a nonprofit, you have access to more grants, more funds, more money, if you will, that is out there from the government, from the state, if there's a need that is clearly identified. So that's what I'm trying to kind of really isolate, because what I want to do, people do for profit. So it's like, okay, what's the difference? And that's kind of what I'm trying to define.
Gotcha. So here's my take on it. Because I mean, when you mentioned for nonprofit, I remember years ago, I was speaking to a CPA. And I said, you know, in my business, we do a lot of different things. We do taxes, we do bookkeeping, we do payroll, we teach QuickBooks. He said, you should start a nonprofit. Oh, okay, excuse me. He said, you should start a nonprofit. Pete Gallo. Oh, hold on, I got you muted, brother. How are you?
I was just saying some brilliant things, and you didn't hear any of them.
No, I didn't. I've never seen you with so much facial hair. And
I know, it's 2 weeks.
All the years I've known you. That's amazing.
No, it's annoying, but I've just been lazy.
Oh, well, it almost looks so well groomed. It does. Well, you know,
got white patches. I don't know.
No,
Makes me feel old.
So hey, we just were chatting about a specific thing, and I wanted to get back to it because we are recording, and I just saw a cute girl walk behind my brother. Oh, that's my niece. Anyway, I hope it was. Anyway, we were talking. Jonathan, as you know, does construction. He's a GC in Philly. So he had an idea about opening a nonprofit. And I asked him why. And he's talking about getting government grants and loans and how much easier it is with a nonprofit. So I was just telling him this little story about when I was in business. Well, I've been in business for a while, right? But I was speaking with a CPA. And he said to me one time, what do you do? And I said, bookkeeping, payroll, taxes, I teach QuickBooks. He said, oh, you teach QuickBooks? I said, yeah. He said, you should start a nonprofit. And you could carve that part out and make it a nonprofit. And that way you can have different standards. And I thought about it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I never pursued it. Why? What's the point? Honestly, a nonprofit is designed not so you can acquire money for yourself to do other things. It's designed as something that's supposedly, and Pete, jump in because I know you've worked with nonprofits through your alumni. It's philanthropic in nature, or it's association driven. It's not about acquiring money. And the challenge with the nonprofit, if you do that, is it's highly regulated. You can't you can't be the president of the nonprofit and take money for yourself and not report it and have all these things around it. So you're going to get a grant for a nonprofit operation, and let's just say it's $1 million. It's not like you can take that money and give yourself some salary. So there's no real, and you can, but all that stuff gets regulated. And you'll be paying taxes on it as well. So if your idea is, I just want to get money, I would first, before I went that route, carving out another business and another thing with regulations, I would try to figure out the best ways that I can acquire money for myself, for my business, for whatever I want to do. So then I'm going to start exploring things like lines of credit. I'm going to explore things like SBA loans, right? We talked about that last week with COVID, but really that's just a subset of loans that are available to small businesses. I would look at minority business loans, which is a whole different thing. But I wouldn't necessarily look at carving out a nonprofit simply because I'm trying to acquire a revenue. And you also mentioned investors. Just because you are a nonprofit, that's no real benefit to an investor, right? When I give money to a nonprofit, typically I want a tax write-off, right? That's kind of what I'm giving to this charity or that charity. But if I'm trying to invest my money, I probably want a for-profit business. You know, show me a business plan where you're going to give me 20% back or something. So the way I see it, you know, nonprofits are okay, but that's not to me a way. That's not. I want to start a business or I want a second business in this nonprofit. Does that make sense? That's what I would say. And so I would say, look, if I'm in the fledgling stages of my business, and this is just a challenge in life, right? I'm in the fledgling stages of my business. Do I want to divert time away from growing my business to start something different to try to get money? Or do I want to just stay laser focused on this business and what I need to do for this business to get, you know what I'm saying? You said the acquisition of revenue, the acquisition of cash. My first question to you is, why do you need cash? Right? And then I'm going to explore that path. Why do I really need cash? I mean, maybe you don't need it today. You know, I mean, obviously this whole situation is a whole different game, right? Where we are now. But when my business is up and running, what do I need cash for? You know, because I've been in business for a lot of years now, I get hit up all the time from bankers and people who offer credit lines. I want credit, you know, Clover, just tons of them. Hey, we can give you $50,000 tomorrow. You know, why do I need cash? Why do I need money beyond the revenue that I'm generating? Typically, it's a loan and I have to pay it back. Why do I need a loan? So the first question I would ask you is, why do you envision the need for cash? Can you get that cash from the revenues that you're already generating? You know, and what's your big plan? If you have a big picture plan, then I would say, okay, now we can talk about how to go about getting cash. That's the way I would look at it.
Okay, so now mind you, Pete, hey Pete. This is all infancy stage ideas in my head, you know, twiddling my thumbs and working on the house, trying to come up with other ideas. And this one just got stuck in my head. So feel free to slice it to death. That's why I'm here. But my big picture, what I look at is in Philadelphia in particular, and you've been here before, Mark, there's so many underdeveloped residential properties for various reasons, tax liens, people foreclosed, whatever the case may be. But there are large areas in low income neighborhoods that just sit there until there was an initiative before this COVID thing where the city was going around just demolishing buildings because they just didn't have anyone to purchase them because these neighborhoods are considered higher risk because they're such a lower income. And so I look at people who come here from out of state. We have a mutual friend, Mark. I look at people who come here, buy up these properties, and then don't develop them because their business pattern is to hold it until the areas get more valuable, then they look to sell it, which is fine. That's their business or whatever. But I'm looking at it as a resident of the area and seeing how instead of just holding stuff, can it be developed and used for people here? And that's kind of where this whole thing came from. So in my mind, what I envision is going into a neighborhood, medium to low income, getting triplexes even, and helping people. There's two routes I'm thinking about. Either there's an organization in the area called Homeworks where they enable low income families to eventually own a home, but I don't know if I want to go that route. That seems a bit complicated for me and my little self right now. Or the other route, which is kind of like Section 8, but it's not Section 8 because Section 8 uses work vouchers and it's kind of built on that platform where you build up a house, it's a nice, decent property, affordable rents with purchases to own or options to own later on. That's kind of what I'm envisioning. Giving people in lower income areas who want to an opportunity to have a nice home instead of living in a busted neighborhood. So that's kind of my big idea. To answer some of your questions, I can't get there with the revenue that I generate as an HVAC company, which is why I kind of transitioned or am transitioning to general contracting work, because I make the same amount of money doing way less, giving me more time to go pursue other things. So that's when I started thinking about the grant and loan thing to speed the process up. That's pretty much what I got. This has been baking in the oven for like 24 hours.
Pete, you look like you got something you're thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it though.
Just give it to me, Pete. Go
I'm
ahead.
thinking it's a depressed area.
Yes.
And this is your first foray into this type of idea. It may not be the right place to do it. If you're taking the most at-risk area and trying something new with it.
That's true.
You know, that'd be like saying, I'm going to go after all these people who haven't paid their bills and teach them how to pay their bills, and they're going to pay me.
I see what you're saying. That's good.
Yeah. So, and especially since these other companies are coming in with big money and they're buying the property, but they're not developing it. They're just waiting, because
That's true.
I guess it makes more sense for them to wait than it does to spend money on developing it. So that's why I'm not saying it can't be done, but my first question would be, well, why hasn't it been done? Maybe it hasn't been done because it just shouldn't be done, or it'd be too much work, especially if you're just starting out.
What do they know that I don't?
And I can tell you the answer to that too, my opinion. And everything is always our opinion, right? LeBron James has a foundation, right? Probably Carmelo Anthony does. I'm just throwing it, right?
Sure.
Damian Tomlinson. You know when they start their foundations? After they've made all their money, when they're rich. Foundations and philanthropic efforts are after you've made your money. If you're looking at this as a way to make money, it's a mistake. Foundations are after you make money. Nonprofits are after you've made money. That's the side. That's the next thing. It's like, oh, I've made it now. Let me go and help the underprivileged people by doing this. If your goal is to get cash in your pocket to feed your family, then this is not the way. Nobody. Well, I'm not gonna say nobody because I don't know everybody, right? That would be pretty moronic. But if you're starting a business and you're in the business of trying to earn a living, make money, make your things. You don't diverge and start talking about philanthropic efforts and think that you're going to build a business. That's something secondary. So I'm saying everybody who has a foundation, the Tiger Woods Foundation, they all and even those guys, they all started after they've made their money. So you got to look at it from that point of view. The people who are buying and holding properties and waiting to develop it, it's not philanthropic. They're trying to make money. They want to flip it. If you want to help your community, that's completely separate than everything else you're doing. Understand that, and don't let it take away from your real focus, which is trying to build a business. Because even if you say, I'm going to do a nonprofit and I'm going to pay my company, that's crap. That's just, you might as well just build this money here with this guy who has with no strings attached, and you could do what you want with it. It's an asset that you want to use to flip whatever you want to do. So when I think about what you're saying from a business point of view, and I'm talking strictly because I'm laser focused on business, I'm thinking there's a whole lot of underserved properties in Philadelphia. And all these people are buying and holding it. But man, if I had money, I would buy a bunch of these things and I would do buy and hold. That's what it sounds like. I'd want to run the rental property. Maybe make me a property management fee. Maybe I'll make some money on the flip, or not the flipping, but the rehab. I can make money in different areas. So what do I need to do to get the money to buy the properties? It has nothing to do with nonprofit. It might be, let me find like-minded people in my Philadelphia area that appeals to them, the same idea, and create a syndication, a pool of investors, a real estate investment club. And we all go in together, buy multiple properties as we see fit, and then split the revenue. That's what I would be thinking as far as business is concerned. I have no ties to nonprofit and UBTI, unincorporated business tax, all these weird things that happen, right? And if your money is coming from these different sources, you have to do service. It's a whole different game. If you really are just thinking about making money, if that's the goal, if this is about Mars construction, then the idea is I want to get money in, I'll get some investors, and I'll pitch them this brilliant idea, and they will have a way for them to generate revenue or even an exit strategy, right? I'm going to pay you this much money back over this much, or you'll get this much with interest. That's the way I would be looking at it. But it has to me, it has to stay narrowly focused on your intent. Your intent right now is to build your GC business.
Mm-hmm. Which is true.
Right? Once you make it, then you can start thinking about other philanthropic efforts. You know, all these, and I only look at celebrities and artists and athletes who have foundations. Those are the only people I really know. None of them started their stuff before they got the contract. So that means all the basketball players and football players, they honed their craft. They got as good as they can get. They made their money, and then they said, okay, let me start this philanthropic effort. Probably for a tax write-off or whatever. And also there's some, you know, there's some goodwill behind it. But that's after the money is made, not as you're making the money. Think about it. You know, think about some of the athletes out there. If LeBron, I keep throwing him up because he just runs to my mind because he really does a lot for his community. But if he was like, you know, at 17, I'm not going to practice today. I'm going to go work on this. You know, he might never have made it. Might never made the money. So that's kind of what I'm saying with regards to nonprofits. I think they're just very different in that regard.
That makes sense. And like I said, it's just an idea. Pete, you're going to quickly learn that I have a very serious mental problem and that I have a lot of ideas. And it's hard for me to stick to one thing. It drives my wife insane. But to your point, that's why I wanted to bring it to other people to kind of see it in different ways and keep my focus. So no, but that makes sense. That makes sense.
That mental issue that you have is actually inherited, and it was passed down from your father.
I think it runs in the family. Absolutely.
I was about to say it was passed down from your father to your older brother and your older brother. We all have the same problem. We all have, you know, and honestly, it's easier for me to tell you, okay, this because I'm stepping back and looking at it. But for myself, I do this all the time. I'm like the dog chasing the bone half the time. That's why I have a coach, right? Because my coach says, yo, Mark, I know you want to do this, but you need to think about this. You need to stay focused on the specific task at hand. Even when we know, you know, that it might divert us away, we need something to rein us in. So I stay paying coaches to keep me reined in, and people paying me to rein them in. One of the things that I started doing recently, and it's kind of interesting, I use Trello. I think I told you guys about Trello, how to manage. On my Trello board, I have this list. It's called Mark's Grand Scheme of Things to Do. And it just gets longer and longer. And every few weeks, I go back and I look at it, and I'm like, what the heck is that? I don't even know. And I might take that one off. But I put it there because every idea could be valid, but the timing might not be right. But maybe, you know, your idea is valid. And maybe once you get to a certain level, you say, I want to go back and look at these. So I don't say, you know, kill it, but just put it somewhere that you can revisit it later. It might even be a curse that we have of a lot of entrepreneurs. The ability to stay laser focused is challenging because we're wearing all the hats for everything in our business anyway, right? So it's a challenge. This client of mine is calling me like 3 times in a row because he doesn't see the lights on. So, you know, I would just tell you, try to stay focused on what you're doing right now. You're trying to build a GC business. Instead of spending time thinking about a new entity, the one thing I would tell you out of that I would extract, the kernel, is I need investors. Mm-hmm. So I would spend at least time introducing myself as Jonathan Adams, the CEO of Mars, and we do X amount of X types of work. And if you would like to invest, I would have investment value for them. Now he's pounding on my front door. Can I put you on hold? Yeah. Hey. I'll let it go. I'll let it rock. He's an older guy. 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
So, there you go.
I'm over here too.
How have you been maintaining? You been busy, Pete?
No.
Same here.
It's like my 3rd Zoom call for the day. Like I have nothing else to do. I'll just look at people that aren't here and.
Yeah, tell me about it. I've been doing a lot of homeschooling.
Oh, so you're learning what it's like to be in what, 3rd grade, 4th grade?
Yeah, fun times. Not at all, but that's part of why I keep coming up with these ideas because I have all this time. It's
all right, guys. I'm going to tell you something. I have like the best clients in the world. This client is knocking on the door. because they didn't want to leave this outside with their tax papers. He knows I drink Crown. Isn't it nice?
Nice.
I love my clients. They're just
my
great.
clients asked me to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah, that's what I had for lunch. That's what it was doing. So I'm sorry about that. They were calling me. So continue. What were you saying? I know I interrupted you too.
No, I was just saying how with so much time on my hands, I have all these ideas. I need the help with staying focused. Just some of what you said as you were talking, because it's how my brain works. I'm typing notes and looking things up. So I was looking up various sources of funding. So now my new focus is to compare crowdsourced funding versus personal investors and seeing which is the easiest to break into. Because like right now, Pete, I have an investor who I'm working with, a young guy, first time flipper, from Jersey, flipping in Philly. Like him, great. But I want to have more than one investor. I don't want to have my eggs tied into one basket. So now I'm trying
yeah, we both know him. He's a friend of mine. He has a really good job in the city, and he's trying to diversify, and he's starting to do investment. He figured out that Philly was the place he wanted to go. These two know, I don't know if I introduced you to him at that point or whatever, but either way, they hit it off. He's thinking about doing a lot of things. He was going to join us today, but he got some other responsibilities he had to take care of. But he's also thinking about this whole idea about how to continue to grow. Right? He's flipping one property with you, but he's another one who has all these ideas, right? And so I'm always trying to rein him in to focus on the most immediate thing. Don't think 6 months down the line about comps for the property that's not even built yet. Let's just focus on getting. So it's and I encourage him to do the same thing, to continue to look for ways to expand, but not lose sight of the most important thing, which is a focus. For you, Jonathan, you're a GC. And if that arrangement is working out with you the way you like it, then even before you think about multiple sources, what have you, maybe it's just finding other investors that you can GC for.
Right.
Try to run as many projects as you can. Even looking for investors to buy your own is a diversion from your primary business, right? Unless you say, hey, this the way my business is going right now, I don't like it. I need to change it. Then I would probably say, don't even think about investing and sourcing and crowdsourcing. That just takes you away. Find somebody who's looking to flip a property. If you can add to that process, you even got something. Look, I'm going to find a property and find somebody to help me flip it. Different, but not this whole I'm looking for sourcing and all. That might take you away. When I was speaking to Courtney, and actually I interviewed him on Facebook. We did it. I don't know if it's Facebook. I'll be playing with all this stuff, but I interviewed him and we talked about that whole. It was based on a 2-hour conversation he and I had. I said, man, we should have recorded this. We were talking about syndication, and he really wants to get involved in moving and taking his one flip and exponentially multiplying it. So we talked about the value for him finding people who are like-minded who want to do the same thing. Now he's in the construction industry. They make 6 figures a year easily, so he might have people who are, and they all feel like you do, and justifiably so. I know about buildings and structure. So if he finds a property, they all you guys can feel comfortable. He's looking for people of like mind that he can start a syndication. That might be something that's not working for you. Your thing might be find people who are trying to be syndicators, because what you're making your money on is actually doing the work. He's making his money after you've made your money, right? He's paying you so he can make money. So then I'd be looking for people who want to pay me so they can make money. And that might be my pitch. Hey, you want to make money flipping houses? I can help you get there. Mm-hmm. I'd probably be looking at that. It also relieves you of being on the hook. You think about it. If he does that syndication, he is beholden to all the people who are involved in the project, right? And you know what? If you're his GC and you screw up, they're going to be looking at him because he's got the business deal with all these people, right? If you're the GC, all you have to do is get the project completed. I would be looking at it a little differently than you are. And I think the way I'm looking at it is if your money is general contracting and you like it, find ways to generate general contracting jobs. That's what I would do.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
something to think about. Don't get, it's so easy to get, a flutter in different directions. And that's always a challenge, because if we're not laser focused on what we're doing, we won't get there. One of the things that we had talked about before was, identifying your main product, your best-selling product, right? And then putting fire on that product. For you, your product that you've developed is GC, right? That's better for you, I think, based on what I'm hearing, than even HVAC. Mm. So then all I'd be doing right now in this time of layback is figuring out ways to get GC. Who do I need to talk to get GC work? The best people, right? Is it a syndicator? Is it real estate investors? How did you find Courtney? He's a little upset. He's an exception. But you know where these people live. You've been there. I was told that you've been to like meetups and you found real estate investors, right? Those things. I'd be reaching out to all those contacts saying, hey man, I had this idea. Have you thought about flipping in Philly? You already are? What about this area? What about that area? If I find a property, I might show it to you. You might find interest. That's what I'd be thinking about. What do I get out of it? I mean, nothing. I mean, I'll do the GC work. That's all I'll be focused on.
Right.
Stay laser focused on what's going to make you immediate money tomorrow, not what's going to make you money in 6 months. Now, once you're up and running and you've got this thing like this well-oiled machine and you've got your process in place, then you might say, okay, let me branch off from the tree trunk, as it were. Just my 2 cents on that.
Now, let me ask you this. That makes me think of the, I know you just said laser focus. Yeah, I know. But part of the reason that it's difficult for me to focus is because ultimately I don't want to stay, you know what?
I keep looking at it like, man, I love these people.
So by the time you're done talking to me, you're going to want to crack that bottle open.
Yeah, why isn't it open yet? What's going on here?
I'm trying to keep level-headed and not look cross-eyed in these videos. As it is, I hate looking at myself on camera. I don't want to look terrible about it. I'm getting another.
Jonathan, you're in Philly?
Yep, I live right on the outskirts, a little town called Yeadon in Delaware County. So it's like a 20-minute walk, and I'm in Southwest Philly.
And so, well, I'm thinking here, and this would be maybe long-term, because right now no one's going out and being in public or anything. So this doesn't happen right now. But I'm in, the New York area, and there's always on the radio, hey, join us you want to learn how to flip houses? Come to our seminar, right? Mm-hmm. So if I was you, and these things happen in Philly, I would go to one, and not to learn how to flip houses, but just to meet other people who want to flip houses and give them your card. And if there's ever an opportunity to like raise your hand and ask a question, I would raise my hand and ask a question saying, I'm a general contractor, I specialize in flipping houses. I just don't know where to get my people from. Because everyone else in the audience would be like, I got to talk to that guy. Mm-hmm. And there's your marketing right there. So there's like-minded people. You just have to find them. Yeah. And they hang out in groups. So.
Now, what Pete just said was magical. That was magical. That's really easy for you to do. And you're right, Pete. I've been in so many different meetings, and if I'm looking for help and someone raises their hand, I'm like, I need to find that dude. Yo, bro, before you leave, can I get, you'll find that to be the case. If you just went to those meetings and said, I'm a general contractor and I specialize in flipping, man, people would just run to you.
Now, unfortunately, they're not having meetings right now, but that'll come back. Or maybe there's virtual groups you can find, or Zoom calls where people are having, and you just jump on.
And that when you said that, that's what kind of popped into my head is the Zoom aspect, the virtual meeting aspect, because the 2 meetings I went to, real estate investment something, REIA, the 2 of them that I went to, there were people interested. And then what you have to do to follow up, right? You got to cultivate the ground, and that's where it's like, okay, John, you got to become a better cultivator. But they're there, to your point. So I think if I could get into a virtual setup, I'm sure they're having them. I can just easily find where they are.
So a couple of things. You're absolutely right. Everything that I'm reading now from all these business groups that I'm part of, they're all talking about, okay, we know that you're summits and your meetings are dead. How are you moving to virtual? Everybody's doing it. So you could probably, if you just do a little bit of a search like you're probably doing right now, stop typing, you can do a little bit of a search, you'll find that. But the other thing you mentioned is it does you no good to find people, shake their hand, and then disappear. So the other thing you should focus on doing is coming up with a follow-up sequence for everybody you meet that you can almost put on autopilot. I'm all about systems, right?
Like
I mean, that's part of what made me a brilliant programmer. Because if I had to do something twice, I was like, man, I'm gonna figure out how to write this in code. So and that's part of what makes programmers really good. And if you can come up with the same idea, a touch script, a drip mail sequence, now you've got something. You just reach out, and it's not marketing at that point. It could be just a once a week check-in with people that's already, for want of a better word, scripted out. So that this week you say, hey, it was so good seeing you at the meeting. You pop them in your script. A week from then you say, hey, just thinking about you, blah, 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 blah. A week later you say, and I'm real good, and now Nicole is on. Oh, I got Nicole on mute. Nicole, are you on mute on purpose or no?
No, I'm good.
I was going to say, one of the things I'm really good at is talking about these things. The thing I'm really bad at is doing these things. Nicole can attest, right? I worked on a script, and every week on my calendar it says, write the rest of it, continue writing it. And has that happened yet? Nah.
No.
I just, it's a challenge. But we gotta push through. I'm learning more and more the value of teams, right? I'm good at certain things and whack at others. And now what I'm trying to do is build teams, right? Because if you don't have a team, you just can't do it all. You can't do it all. When you're out turning a wrench or knocking down, concrete or whatever you're doing, you can't be thinking about scripts. And if you are, you might, put that hammer right through your hand. So you got to have people working with you. That's how we all grow. So think about that too. If follow-up is your weak point, you have a brilliant vice president at your firm who probably can do that masterfully and sits in front of a computer most of the day. They can probably write out your scripting for you, and it'd be priceless. So make sure you use your vice president. I know she's really smart.
Will do.
How are you, Nicole?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
All right.
I was working and I looked at the time and I'm like, oh my, I'm late.
Hey, it's crazy, right? We're in this point, everybody's locked out, but some of us are still uber busy. Right before you came, we're going through our call and my phone rings. And I'm like, oh, my client said he's going to drop off taxes and leave it in the front door. And so I didn't answer it, and he rang again. I didn't answer it, and he rang again. I'm like, my goodness. He's older. Then he starts banging on the front door. Now the lights are out. The doors, I told them too, the lights are out. Everything's locked. He just wanted to see me. But he did have a reason. I'll share with you. I love my clients. They're so nice.
Oh, it should be doing later.
He's just a simple tax return. You know what I'm saying? He's a simple that bottle is like 50% of his bill is crazy. He does that. Yeah, so I might not go home tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm distracted. So hey, while I got you three here, we're coming on the 35-minute mark, so we don't have to, it's as long as we want it to be. One of the ideas I had for this focus forum is to come up with one single topic that we can kind of vamp on each time we get together. And I tell you why. Yesterday, I was in another forum meeting. I'm in a lot of meetings nowadays, too. It's crazy. But that's how I keep learning. And the coach said, a confused buyer never buys. That's heavy, right? I'm confused. I said, man, that's something that we should talk about. So I was thinking maybe if every week we had one thing like that and we just vamp about it and see how it helps us before we get into whatever other subjects we have. What do you guys think? You think that's a cool idea? Friday focus. We focus on one point. Just a thought. What do you think? What do you think, Pete? You look bored. You look like that's whack.
No, that's fine. I'm just thinking how it affects, where we go with that.
Oh. What do you think, Nicole?
What's that? What's my thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you need to have a theme to your Friday focus forum. So you should be focusing on something.
Okay. I think I like that theme. Like, it's about really just focusing on something that's going to help our businesses grow, and just vamp on it. I like that thought process to me. Like when he said it, the reason I thought it was so profound is like, we all have so many different things that we do in our business, right? Pete, you do video, you do audio, you do production work. You've got a lot of different things. Do you clearly, and I know you do, I'm just saying, but like, do you clearly identify to the client when they walk in the door, this is what I'm going to do for you? The reason that whole conversation came up yesterday is because we were speaking with another business advisor, and she said, I'm having all of these calls, but when I'm done with the call, like, to close the deal, it never closes. It doesn't close. And I don't know why they are flaking. And I said, it's not them. It's not them. Maybe you haven't clearly conveyed to them why they need you. And that's when the coach said, yeah, confused buyer never buys. So even with the things that we do, right? Yeah, right?
I mean, if you think about what we used to do in B&I, it was always like, if you're very specific with what you're looking for, you get more traction than if you go out there and say, I'm looking for the following 20 items.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I saw a good example. I don't have it. A local print shop sent me a postcard. And it's like, hey, if you're looking for the following, and it had like 1,000 things on it, like we do it all. And to me, it's like none of them stood out. But if you sent the postcard out this month that had t-shirts, and next month that had postcards, and next month that flyers, each one of them would have stood on its own. So yeah. I think it's about abundance, maybe scarcity versus abundance. Whereas, sometimes you try to give your customer everything all up front because you're afraid that if you don't, they won't buy from you. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's like, to me, using your stuff, a camera in focus. This time I'm going to focus on this one thing. I might have all these other people in the background, but I'm going to focus on this one. And then next week I'm going to bring this one up to the focus. So people know, I mean, he's selling t-shirts, but I see jeans, I see other things in the back. I might ask, but at least I have one thing to focus on. And it might not hit me today, but the next week when I need jeans or whatever, or t-shirts, I remember he does that too. So I like that, right? Yeah, you're right. It's like, to me, when you have a sentence, if the entire sentence is bolded, nothing stands out. You bold one word and that's what stands out. So that it's kind of interesting when I thought about the phrase. I literally wrote it down and said, man, I got to make sure that I'm always conveying a clear message. And that's a one-on-one thing, one-to-one thing, right? What I can do for you, Pete, is different than what I can do for Nicole or what I can do for Jonathan. So I can't talk to you, Pete, about helping you figure out how to collect receivables on contract work, because that's not what you do. Or you can't help me when it comes to figuring out how to make a commercial for remodeling. That wouldn't work. That's Jonathan. It's focused. So when you're talking to him, telling him about tax for commercials is a waste. Telling him about his specific thing is what matters. So I think as business owners, we always got to make sure to do that. I kind of said yesterday, it's about listening to the person, understanding exactly what they need. And if you can meet that need, then tell them how you can meet that specific need. So I like that topic. That's all.
Well, it's like what you said earlier. Jonathan's a general contractor specializing in flipping homes. You didn't say Jonathan's a general contractor that does kitchens and bathrooms and walkways and decks and attics and living rooms and additions and but just by saying you're a general contractor that specializes in flipping homes, in my mind I'm like, okay, that means he could probably do a little bit of everything. Done. But it also helps me think, who do I know that's an investor that might look for him, as opposed to who do I know that owns a home that might be doing a project? I don't know. That's too broad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you do it just right, if you convey it just right, the person says, oh, I'm thinking about John Jacobs because he does so-and-so. And it's a lot easier to pinpoint.
So who's John Jacobs?
He actually is an investor who flips homes in Philadelphia.
I was like, I'm thinking of John Adams, but all right.
Oh, John Jacobs is the investor that John Adams needs. So I'm going to tell John Adams about John Jacobs because he's a flipper.
I just want to meet people.
Isn't he historic figure, John Adams? Sam Adams, that's the drink.
That's the drink. You know why, John Jacob? There's a song, John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith, or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know why that always went to my head.
Showing your
I don't
age,
even know
bro.
the song, but I always think John Jacob. Don't ask me why. I didn't know this song growing up.
It's
Anyway.
going back to that mental illness you discussed earlier.
You got it. Yeah. But hey, look, is it a mental illness if it's inherited?
Sure.
Yes,
It's a genetic defect.
it's so funny. I was talking to my father. We were talking about that same thing, and we were talking about how hot-headed we are. And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "You know what?" And I'm the same way, and so is Jonathan, and so is Austin, my brother. I said, "You know what? The excuse that we have, we inherited from somebody. Guess from who?" He's like, "You ain't get it from me." I said, "There you go."
Like, your mother.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that woman. Okay, Dad. So, hey, man, this was really cool. I don't know. Does anyone have anything they want to wrap up with? I don't want to hold on unnecessarily. Does anybody have anything they want to wrap up with? Is there
I'll
any
throw something
takeaway
out
that you
there.
want? Huh?
I'm going to throw something out there because it's what I'm trying to deal with right now. So because of what's going on in the world, obviously, our local town paper, they put out a monthly paper that goes to like 10,000 people in like the 5 towns in the area. He's struggling to get people to put ads in. So he reached out to me because I've done favors for him in the past. And he said, "I'll give you a half-page ad for free for next month." So I'm like, all right, I'll put an ad in. So a half-page full-color ad that goes to 5 towns, about 10,000 homes. I don't know what to say in it because I don't want to be insensitive and be like, "Hey, huge sale going on now," you know. And I also don't want to say, "Hey, come in, we're open," because I mean, technically, we're not supposed to encourage people to come in. But I don't want to waste the space. So I'm struggling with what should the message be that's tasteful and create some action. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny because, when you have valuable space, you want to make the most of it.
I mean, I can go the route of Envision Video thanks our heroes and just have it be something that has our name on it. Or I can go the route of, hey, while you're stuck at home, why don't you clean out your stuff, put them in a box, and then when this is over, come and see us? Or like,
I was thinking something like that, like Envision Video gives back. Come into the shop, and we have a drop box or something of canned food. Envision Video is doing a canned food drive. And everybody who comes in, because they'll feel impelled to do it, which is awesome. Now they know where you're at. And then you give them something. It's like, "Hey, thanks for dropping this off. Let me give you and I'm not a big fan of discounts, but let me give you a discount on your next," and have it be specific. Something like that. Because the value to me is if I can get people coming in the door, right? That might be it.
Well, the other thought was I could also go pick up things. So if someone wanted to place an order this newspaper goes within, 5 miles of my home or the office. So it's not like it's far. So it could also be like, hey, if you're looking to have this done,
That's
pick
what
a
I
date
would
and
do.
time and leave it on your doorstep and we'll come get it and preserve your memories.
I was thinking, because you said sensitivity to the time, that it wouldn't, to make you look like a hero. I just watched this commercial on TV and it made me think of that. Did you see this Frito-Lay commercial? Frito-Lays, the potato chips? It just came on. The commercial was like, "Yo, Frito," not yo, because they ain't from the ghetto. But they were like, "Frito-Lays, we're not asking for this, we're just giving back." And they show all the things they were doing right now to help people. If your whole process was not about any kind of sale, but like, in this terrible time, we're giving back, and you did, I'm just saying, a canned food drop. You said, "I'm going to donate this to the local Stop and whatever's in your area, the ShopRite. I'm going to do this, or the local food shop, whatever it is, and just, give me a call. We pick it up for you as a thank you for whatever." And then when you went to everybody, you then gave them something and said, "Hey, thanks so much. This is for you." And it's just something that you created to make them come in at a later point in time. I think that might be an angle, something like that. You'd have their name and their address maybe. You can then do mailing lists to them in perpetuity. That's what I'd be maybe thinking about doing. I think people right now, if you did something like that, they'd be more willing to give. We just want one can from you.
In his ad, he could put the form that he wanted them to fill out, they could give that back to him.
Yeah.
That would be like an exchange of things. He could collect their email address.
Yeah.
You could put their email address.
I would come up with something like that, though. Yeah, absolutely. Something where you just were just being philanthropic. It would make you look so good. And since it ain't costing you nothing anyway, it would make you look good. And the idea is that you're going to get something out of it, right? You're going to get their contact information.
Smaller that you do, even if it's like a 10% off of something, smaller that you do.
Yeah. And you get the contact information.
Yeah, you get the email address and, all that stuff. Because having someone's email address is like, I don't know what you do as far as like promotional wise or anything like that, but someone's email address right now is golden.
Yeah. Even if you're
Mark, he has no idea.
Yeah, he knows he just can't do it. And I was going to have a conversation with you at our next marketing meeting, by the way. But that is the gold, right? I know you, Pete, does a lot with Facebook and stuff too. But we can't put all of our marketing hopes on a social media paradigm. We've got to, and this is what I learned just recently. I was listening to a podcast. And they said in the podcast, even if you have your group, your Facebook people, get the email address because you don't know what Facebook's going to do to you next week. You just don't know. Email is yours, So you're right. Whatever you do, man, I think you want to try to grab that To me, if you're not paying for ad space and you get 500 contact names, that's awesome. And that's exactly what I would do. You can even do something like we're doing a drive to get 500 cans to our neighbors. You know what I'm saying? And you can reach back to them same people like a week later and say, hey, thanks so much. We're at 150 cans. Or we want to thank you personally, something like that.
I have a question. What's the general demographic of the area, like 5 miles around you?
I don't know how to answer that. We're a suburb of New York City. We're about 10 miles outside of New York, so it's pretty affluent. It's decent, yeah.
Yeah,
families, definitely families, but it's also a lot of people go into the city to work or.
The reason I ask is because I'm listening to Mark and Nicole, and you can target towards your demographic. So if you have that article, and I don't know, I'm not a wordsmith like Mark.
Stop.
But just like a concept along the lines of wanting to help families in need or wanting to help our neighbors, something like that, like you said, so the space isn't wasted, but it doesn't feel like corporate America's talking to me in the ad. It feels like my next door neighbor. Hey, I'm only such and such a way, not that you necessarily say all that, but I'm your neighbor. I live in the area. I live in the community. I want us to help each other. Something to promote that.
Open my doors and help.
I think would be great.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to say that a step further, Pete, you're in Hasbrook Heights. I don't know what town around you is the lowest. For me, I'm like, my office is in Inglewood Cliffs. If I said I want to help the residents of Inglewood, people be like, oh, that's nice. Inglewood is not a poor neighborhood, but they know that there are pockets in there. If I was like really trying to tug at heartstrings, I might say Patterson, right? I ain't going to no Patterson, but no, I'm going to Patterson. I left the hood for a long reason. No, but that's kind of what I would think. You want to have some idea like that if you want to get it even more local. Hasbrook Heights is doing well, probably. But
probably.
2 towns over, they might be struggling. You say, hey, we're helping those residents if you want to tug at heartstrings. Mm-hmm. But I think it just shows a different side of you, and you are all about memories and good feelings. That's what you promote, right? Mm-hmm. So, man, to be able to do that would be valuable. Mm-hmm. Just a thought.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a thought, like that. So we're coming up on 50 minutes. I'm not going to hold us much longer. I guess we just I want to just thank you guys, and hopefully we can keep this going. I find it valuable when I do this with my other groups. Every time I walk away from it, I get at least one thing that I say, man, I'm glad that I spent the hour or whatever doing it. So I hope you guys find it the same. Cool.
I'm focused now.
All right, good. That's important. All right, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Much.
Thank you. Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye. I'm gonna call you, girl.